See, he just popped it all up. Good boy. Give me that. Good boy. Yeah. Good boy.
Nobody had medical truth confession on their 2026 bingo card, but here we are, because Chrisean Rock just cracked the vault, and what spilled out has the internet pacing like it drank 3 Red Bulls and read one leaked DM to many. One moment she's quiet, defiant, unbothered, and the next moment she's dropping statements that sound less like reassurance and more like a plot twist ripped straight out of a low-budget Netflix documentary with a very expensive lawsuit waiting. At the end, this isn't just another influencer overshare or a clout-chasing live gone wrong. This feels like a secret that sat too long in the dark and finally started knocking from the inside. People aren't just watching anymore. They're dissecting, replaying, zooming in, slowing footage down like it's the Zapruder film of celebrity chaos. And let's be clear, this isn't gossip in the usual sense. This is the kind of reveal that makes fans whisper, critics scream, and timelines combust all at once. The Kardashians have built empires on drama, but even they would look at this situation and politely back away. Because when a public figure says they're finally telling the medical truth, the question isn't what they said. The question is, why now, and what pushed them to finally stop pretending everything was fine? For months, the story surrounding Chrisean Rock and her son existed in a strange fog where nothing was officially wrong, yet nothing felt convincingly right either. Every time concern surfaced online, it was met with a shrug, a laugh, or a sharp clapback that framed worry as disrespect and curiosity as obsession. Chrisean played the role she knows best, unbothered, defiant, and daring the internet to keep talking because attention, good or bad, has always been her oxygen. But the thing about silence is that it doesn't stay neutral. When paired with viral clips, half explanations, and emotional reactions, silence starts to look like strategy, and strategy starts to look like guilt, whether it's fair or not. It began quietly, the way all internet fires do, with short clips and side comments. A moment here, a pause there, a live stream that didn't sit right with viewers who have developed Olympic-level pattern recognition. Fans started asking gentle questions at first, the kind wrapped in concern and heart emojis. Critics followed quickly, less patient and far louder, pointing out inconsistencies and moments that felt brushed aside too easily. Chrisean's response never changed. Everything was fine. People were reaching. The internet needed hobbies. According to her, there was no issue, no emergency, and certainly no reason for strangers to analyze her life like a true crime podcast. But the timeline doesn't forget. As weeks passed, those same clips resurfaced with new captions and sharper commentary. What was once dismissed as overthinking became framed as ignored warning signs. Reaction channels picked it up, stitching together footage like a montage no one asked for but everyone watched. The narrative shifted from, "Leave her alone" to "Why won't she address this directly?" And that's where the tension started to thicken, because once the internet smells avoidance, it doesn't back off, it circles. Behind the scenes, according to speculation that spread faster than facts, pressure was building. Not just from critics, but from supporters who felt conflicted. They wanted to defend her, but defending silence gets harder when questions pile up unanswered. Chrisean's brand has always been chaos with confidence, a refusal to explain herself to anyone. That persona works when the stakes are tattoos, relationships, or wild nights. It hits differently when the conversation shifts into territory labeled medical, a word that instantly raises the volume of any room it enters. Then came the moment that detonated everything. Chrisean didn't tease it, didn't hype it, didn't roll it out with dramatic countdowns. She spoke, and the tone was different. Not calm, not fully defensive either, but edged with something unfamiliar, restraint. She said she was finally telling the truth, and the internet froze for half a second before absolutely losing its mind. Because when someone says they're finally being honest, It quietly admits they weren't before, and that implication alone was enough to send timelines into a frenzy. The way she framed it wasn't clean or comforting. There was no neatly packaged explanation, no medical jargon meant to reassure. Instead, there were fragmented statements that felt heavier because of their vagueness. Viewers leaned in, replayed clips, and dissected every word like it was a coded message. Some heard relief in her voice, others heard damage control. Some believed it was courage, others smelled narrative cleanup. And that split reaction is exactly why this moment mattered. It wasn't just about what she said, it was about how long she hadn't said it. The first wave of reactions hit hard and fast. Supporters rushed in with praise, calling her brave for addressing something so personal. Under such intense scrutiny, they argued that no parent owes the internet details, and that sharing anything at all was more than enough. On the other side, critics were less forgiving. They pulled up older statements, older lives, older dismissals, and laid them side by side with this new reveal. The contrast was loud. According to that crowd, this wasn't honesty, it was revision. Not transparency, but timing. As the debate exploded, the story grew legs beyond her core audience. Commentary pages, gossip blogs, and reaction streamers jumped in, each adding their own spin. Some framed it as a tragic example of fame gone too far. Others treated it like the latest episode in an ongoing reality show that never ends. Memes followed immediately, because nothing says collective discomfort like humor used as armor. Comparisons flew, from celebrity meltdowns to infamous moments where public figures insisted nothing was wrong until they suddenly admitted everything was complicated. What really fueled the fire was the contradiction between her past confidence and this sudden vulnerability. Chrisean has always thrived on control, controlling the narrative by refusing to acknowledge it. This moment cracked that armor. It showed a version of her that wasn't fully in command of the story anymore. And when a public figure loses narrative control, the internet doesn't just take it, it runs with it, edits it, monetizes it, and re-uploads it with better lighting. Questions multiplied faster than answers. Why now? What changed? Who pushed her to speak? Was it pressure from fans, fear of backlash, or something happening off camera that made silence impossible? None of those questions were answered directly, which only made them louder. The lack of clarity became its own controversy, with people filling in gaps using assumptions, theories, and whatever fit their preferred version of events. As the noise grew, so did the stakes. This wasn't just about one statement anymore. It became a referendum on trust. Supporters questioned whether defending her meant ignoring uncomfortable truths. Critics questioned whether outrage was genuine concern or just another excuse to tear someone down. Everyone had an opinion, and no one wanted to wait. Because waiting doesn't trend. By the end of that first wave, the atmosphere had completely shifted. What started as whispers turned into a full-blown debate about responsibility, transparency, and the cost of living every moment online. Chrisean's reveal didn't calm the storm. It changed its direction. And as the dust refused to settle, one thing became painfully clear. This wasn't the end of the story. This was the moment the story stopped being avoidable and started demanding consequences. Once the reveal landed, the internet didn't just react, it detonated. This was no longer a quiet debate tucked inside comment sections or niche reaction channels. This turned into a full-blown digital riot where everyone suddenly became an expert, a judge, and a therapist all at once. The timeline split into factions faster than a reality TV reunion special. One side screamed compassion, insisting this was a human moment being unfairly dissected. The other side screamed accountability, arguing that concern delayed is concern denied. And floating somewhere in the middle were people who didn't know what to think but knew one thing for sure. This situation felt heavier than the usual influencer chaos. Memes arrived like clockwork, because the internet processes discomfort through jokes before it processes truth. Screenshots of her statements were slapped next to older clips where she laughed off concerns, creating side-by-side comparisons that didn't need captions. The contrast spoke loudly enough on its own. Someone joked that this storyline had more twists than a soap opera written by caffeine addicts, while others Compared it to those celebrity scandals where denial lasted right up until the moment receipts knocked on the door. Humor softened the blow, but it also sharpened it, because jokes spread faster than nuance ever could. Celebrity reactions didn't help calm anything down. Some posted vague messages about protecting children, truth coming out, and accountability, without saying names, which of course made it obvious who they were talking about. Silence from others was interpreted as judgment, complicity, or fear, depending on who you asked. Influencers who had never spoken on Chrisean suddenly found their voices, their morals, and their monetization strategy all at the same time. Reaction videos multiplied, each one louder than the last, dissecting tone, timing, and body language like this was a masterclass in crisis communication gone sideways. The wildest part was how quickly the narrative stopped being about the reveal itself and became about the reactions to it. People weren't just asking what the truth was anymore. They were asking why it took so long, who benefited from the delay, and whether the reveal was about honesty or damage control. Every angle was explored, every word reinterpreted, every pause turned into evidence of something deeper. It was like watching a crowd argue over a painting while the canvas was still being stretched. Pop culture comparisons flooded in, because the internet can't resist a familiar reference. People compared the situation to reality stars who insisted everything was fine right before their entire storyline imploded. Others joked that this had the energy of a documentary where the narrator says they would later admit, right, before cutting to black. The Kardashians caught strays, because of course they did, with users saying even they would have rolled this out with better PR and a calmer voice. The comparisons weren't just jokes. They were a way for people to frame what they were watching, a way to understand chaos by placing it next to something already known. As outrage grew, so did the moral debates. Some argued that the internet had crossed a line, turning concern into spectacle and personal struggle into entertainment. Others fired back that public figures who live online don't get to decide when scrutiny is appropriate. The argument went in circles, each side accusing the other of being either heartless or hypocritical. And through it all, Chrisean's name stayed trending, proof that whether people were defending her or criticizing her, they were still watching. Brands and collaborators started moving quietly, which somehow made everything louder. A post that didn't go up, a tag that disappeared, a partnership that suddenly went silent. In influencer culture, absence is a language, and people are fluent in reading it. Speculation exploded about who was distancing themselves and why. Some fans called it unfair, others called it consequences. Either way, it sent a clear message that this reveal wasn't happening in a vacuum. There were real-world ripples, and everyone could feel them. The internet also turned its attention inward, questioning its own role while continuing to refresh for updates. People asked whether this level of scrutiny was necessary, right before sharing another clip. They criticized reaction channels while watching them back to back. It was hypocrisy dressed as concern, and it fueled the fire even more. Because outrage culture thrives on participation, even from those who claim to hate it, what made this phase especially volatile was the lack of resolution. There was no follow-up clarification, no clean explanation to anchor the conversation. Just silence again, heavier this time, because now it followed a reveal instead of denial. That silence became the new headline. Was she overwhelmed? Was she advised to stop talking? Was something else unfolding off camera? Nobody knew, so everyone guessed. And guesses, once repeated enough, start to feel like facts. The tone of the conversation shifted from shock to suspicion. People weren't just emotional anymore, they were investigative. Old interviews were pulled, old tweets resurfaced. Every past statement was re-examined under a harsher light. The internet loves a pattern, and it started connecting dots whether they were meant to be connected or not. Supporters pushed back, saying this was spiraling into cruelty. Critics responded that accountability always feels cruel to those unprepared for it. Through all of this, Chrisean's image continued to fracture. To some, she became a symbol of vulnerability under pressure, a person cracking beneath the weight of public life. To others, she represented everything wrong with influencer culture, where transparency comes too late and responsibility is optional. Both versions existed at the same time, battling for dominance across timelines and comment sections, and that's when it became clear this wasn't just a scandal anymore. It was a cultural moment, uncomfortable and messy, exposing how quickly the internet turns real life into episodic content. Every reaction fed the machine. Every think piece, meme, and hot take kept the story alive. By the time people started saying they were tired of hearing about it, the story had already evolved into something bigger than its starting point. The reveal had lit the match, but the reaction turned it into an inferno that no one, including Chrisean herself, could fully control anymore. By the time the noise hit its peak, the aftermath had already begun rewriting everything around it. This wasn't just about what was said anymore, it was about what could never be unsaid. The reveal had permanently shifted how people looked at Chrisean Rock, and no amount of clarification, silence, or selective engagement was going to snap things back to how they were before. In internet time, there is no rewind button, only screenshots and memory. The moment she spoke, the storyline locked itself into place, and now everyone was watching to see who paid the price. Public perception fractured in a way that doesn't heal cleanly. Supporters who once defended her without hesitation started adding conditions to their loyalty. They still cared, but now they wanted explanations. Critics felt validated, framing the reveal as proof that their concerns had never been paranoia, just prematurely dismissed. Neutral observers, the ones who usually scroll past drama, suddenly had opinions too, because this crossed into territory that felt heavier than typical influencer chaos. The narrative wasn't just messy, it was sticky, and once a story sticks, it follows you into every future headline. Relationships around her didn't escape unscathed either. People who had stood beside her quietly began stepping back, not loudly, not dramatically, but noticeably. The absence of familiar faces spoke volumes. In this industry, distance is often disguised as scheduling conflicts, but audiences recognize the pattern. When collaborators disappear at the same time controversy explodes, nobody needs a press release to connect the dots. Fans debated whether this was abandonment or self-preservation, but either way, it reinforced the idea that the reveal had consequences beyond comments and clicks. The brand damage was subtle but undeniable. Chrisean's image had always thrived on unpredictability, but unpredictability stops being entertaining when it starts feeling unresolved. Companies don't mind chaos when it's controlled. They panic when it's ambiguous. Suddenly, the very traits that once made her marketable felt risky. And risk is the one thing brands hate more than bad press. Even supporters noticed the shift, questioning whether this moment would mark the start of a quieter era or trigger an even louder spiral. Meanwhile, the internet moved into its favorite phase, analysis without mercy. People weren't reacting emotionally anymore, they were evaluating. Think pieces popped up dissecting influencer responsibility, parenting under public scrutiny, and the ethics of turning personal struggle into content. Some framed her as a cautionary tale, others as a victim of a system that rewards oversharing until it punishes it. Both narratives gained traction because both felt plausible, and plausibility is all the internet needs to argue forever. Chrisean herself became quieter, and that quiet was different from before. Earlier silence felt defiant, almost playful. This silence felt heavy. Every post was scrutinized, every absence interpreted. When she didn't speak, people accused her of hiding. When she did, they accused her of spinning. There was no winning move left, only damage control and survival. The internet had moved past waiting for clarity. It had already decided the story was bigger than any explanation she could offer. What made this phase especially brutal was how permanent it felt. This wasn't a fleeting viral moment that burns hot and disappears. This was a defining chapter. Future headlines would reference it. Past moments would be reinterpreted through it. Even unrelated drama would somehow circle back to it. because once a narrative attaches itself to a name, it becomes shorthand. Chrisean Rock wasn't just a personality anymore. She was a case study, whether she wanted to be or not. At the same time, the audience was forced to confront its own reflection. People continued watching while criticizing the spectacle. They condemned exploitation while engaging in it. They demanded accountability while refreshing for updates. The cycle repeated, exposing the uncomfortable truth that outrage and concern often coexist with curiosity and entertainment. This wasn't just her story anymore. It was proof of how quickly the internet consumes real-life complexity and demands a clean ending it never gets. As the dust settled, one thing became undeniable. The reveal didn't resolve anything. It opened doors that couldn't be closed and raised questions that won't stop echoing. Whether future updates bring clarity, contradiction, or another twist entirely, the foundation has already shifted. The trust that once allowed fans to believe everything was fine is gone. In its place sits skepticism, caution, and a constant expectation of the next shoe to drop. And that's the real aftermath. Not cancellation, not redemption, but permanent scrutiny. The kind that follows you into every live, every post, every silence. Chrisean Rock broke the silence, but in doing so, she created a noise that won't fade anytime soon. The internet doesn't forget moments like this. It catalogs them, revisits them, and weaponizes them when convenient. This chapter may feel like the end of the storm, but storms like this don't end. They pause, they regroup, and they come back louder. And everyone watching knows it's only a matter of time before the next wave hits. And this is where you come in, because stories like this don't survive on silence, they survive on reaction. Whether you think Chrisean Rock was brave, reckless, misunderstood, or strategically late to the truth, one thing is undeniable: this moment shifted everything, and pretending it didn't won't stop the next headline from dropping. So don't just watch this and scroll like nothing happened. Smash that like button like it owes you money and interest, because the algorithm only respects pressure. Drop your take in the comments, even if it's unpopular, because the messiest opinions are usually the most honest ones. Was this transparency, damage control, or something in between? Say it with your chest. If you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet, fix that immediately. This channel doesn't wait for press releases or watered-down explanations. We catch the chaos when it breaks. We track it while it burns, and we revisit it when everyone swears they're done talking about it. Scandals don't come with warnings, but subscribers get notifications. And trust me, in a world where today's silence becomes tomorrow's bombshell, you don't want to be the last one catching up. Share this video with someone who swore they were over this drama but somehow knows every detail anyway. You know the type. Keep your notifications on, keep your skepticism sharp, and keep your eyes open, because this story isn't finished, it's fermenting. The internet never closes a file. It just waits for new receipts to slide across the table. Around here, fame isn't glamorous, it's volatile. Truth is never clean. Silence is never innocent, and the next twist is always loading. Stay locked in, stay questioning, and remember,